for a few days in May. I've continued to work with them over the last few weeks since they were here, and they're finishing up our audit. They should have it completed in a week or two, and then they will present next month. Overall, things went well, but we don't have their final opinions yet. So we have that. And then we held our annual tax sale on May 25th. It was held online through the Public Surplus Auction website. And for anyone who doesn't know, this auction includes properties that haven't had their property taxes paid for the last 5 years. So we auction them off starting at a price of the past due taxes plus any fees, over those last 5 years. We had 59 parcels that were in the auction, and we sold all of them. If there is a bid amount above the taxes and fees, that amount is held by us, and the previous owner is able to claim that surplus amount. There were only 2 properties that weren't sold above the starting bid price, so all of the other properties will have a surplus amount to be claimed. And then we hold that surplus for about a year and a half before sending it to the state, where they can go on that MyCash Utah and collect it there if they don't do it in time through our office. August will present a little more on the tax sale and the exact numbers at the next commission meeting. And I've been working with the State Tax Commission on getting property tax rates set. We received the assessment roll last week with all of the property values from the assessor, and I sent the auditor's certified rate to all of the entities on Thursday. So those have to be returned and submitted by the 22nd of this month by each entity. And as far as I know right now, Bryan Head, Pear One, and Canairville are not going through Truth and Taxation, but I haven't heard from anyone else yet. Over the next few weeks, we'll be working a lot together and with our financial advisor to look at the best option for financing the new sheriff's complex. I'm going to work with Marcus and John to prepare a presentation so that we can meet and go over the options that we have. So I'm thinking in the next probably 2 weeks we'll get together on that. Everything else in the auditor's office is going well. We just sent out our property tax abatement applications, so we will be having a lot of people come into our office applying for that. Valuation notices will go out in July, and then I will be working on a mid-year budget adjustment for sometime in July or August. So, any questions?
How's that online? Is that working good for the auction?
It works really well. It's kind of nice because we can stagger the closing of auctions. We have like 3 to 5 close at a time, and a lot of them, they extended their closing time. If someone bids in the last 5 minutes, then it'll extend it another 5 minutes, so the other people have a chance to continue to bid. So yeah, we sold all 59 properties. And
is that better than it used to be when we just did it here in the court?
I think we get a lot bigger crowd, a lot bigger audience, and the previous owners, they're able to collect more money. So I mean, that's better for them. Some of the bidders don't like it as much because they can't get as good of a deal on some things, but previous owners, then they can claim that extra money from us, and so it kind of helps them out. But yeah.
Why is the money sent to the state and then they have to claim it? Why don't they just return it to the taxpayer?
So a lot of people, we try to get in contact with them. Some people have died. They live in other countries.
Just can't find them.
No, we can't find them. Because Melanie, she'll send out certified letters to each of them before the tax sale.
I see.
Trying to let them know, if you want to.
That's probably why they didn't pay their taxes.
Pay it off,
to them or something.
So we try to contact them. Then there are a few that are like, yeah, I know about it. I'm just going to let it go to tax sale. And so just let me know what the surplus is once it's sold. So they kind of just let it go through on the sale and then want to get that surplus money. But yeah, some of them, it's just we can't find them. And then the state requires us to hold it until next, not this November, but the next. And then we send it to them.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. We'll go to corrections. Thank you, Shalon.
Thank you. All right. So our overall budget status is at 39%. So we feel pretty good about that. We do have one budget line that is out of control right now, and that's our pre-employment expenses. With that, we have 9 applicants going through the background process. It costs about $816 per applicant to do the full process, and there's no guarantee of hire in that point. So if we have to kick somebody out, so yeah, that's kind of been an unforeseen expense for us. So that's why that budget line is out of control. Our culinary cost, of course, as the rest of our bills are all going up, our culinary cost is also going up. For cost per meal, we're at $1.23, which is still below what other jails are seeing. So that's good on our culinary staff. They're keeping our costs low. Our population so we took a pretty good dip in the last couple months ago, and we're seeing the incline come back up. So just our drops come because sentencing and arrests and all of that. So we kind of see the wave there, but we are increasing there. Transportation, again, we saw the drop, but we're headed back up for our transportation team. It's good to kind of get a little bit of a break in there. And our work crew, they're still kicking. They've been doing some really good work out there. They've the majority of their time they've been doing fencing out on 7700 West.
Can I, so just tell them thank you for, they, when Dan Jessen and I cleaned that ditch, what is that? It's the one on the north side of SU, the one that goes from
just off
Westview
of
Drive
Westview
going west,
Drive.
that
Okay.
big long one.
Mhm.
The fence wasn't straight, and we covered up several sections of the fence, and the landowner out there called, and they had to go repair some of that fencing, and they did that. And
They
so
Awesome.
tell them
needed
how
it
much
for
we
their
appreciate it.
animals.
Oh, good.
And then also the fencing, I just barely saw the fencing they did over here at the fairgrounds, and they did a nice job.
Beautiful.
Perfectly straight. I was very
Oh, yeah.
impressed.
Good.
They do a
Deputy
great job.
Groom does. He's
They're
He's
good.
very
They-
good.
Yep, he's top notch. It's good.
Tell them
Yep.
thank you.
I will. He'll appreciate that. So we have 4 vacancies right now. We had Deputy Berman and Corporal Tafuga resigned in the last few months. We've hired 4. We still have our long-term leave, which is military and FMLA users there. We have 4 at post, which is exciting. We're gonna get 3 of them back in a couple weeks, and then we have 1 that will come back at the end of August. So that's a much needed relief after we can get them back and get them through the field training process. And just that we've been doing the Iron County Sheriff Complex planning. That's taken up a lot of our time, huh?
Yep.
So, but any questions for me?
I have a work crew question. I'll just text you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Shalon, appreciate that. Sheriff Carpenter. And John reports that our streaming is working now all of a sudden, so.
Oh, wow.
We don't know what changed.
You must have said some kind words to it, and it was started working.
What goes on? You know, like you see like the Disney movies. You know, the food dances around when nobody's looking, and I mean, what do the computers do? Why are they fighting?
It's like the computer gremlins or socks in the laundry.
Yeah, why are they?
They
What happens over the
They
weekend
come
that makes
back.
them fight that they don't get along on Monday?
That's a good question.
Well, if there's ever computer issues, I've learned it's Monday morning before you can get a hold of anybody to help you.
Yes, yes.
So,
It's the CC June 2023. So first, let me apologize. This last week has been extremely busy. And so I got up this morning and put my presentation together, and I completely forgot about printing off any copies. So I don't even have a copy for me to look
Now we
at.
can
So
watch it.
so we'll see if we can get by and see if my dim eyes can even see my numbers up there or not. You may have to read them to
Save
me.
a tree.
Yeah. So, John, if you'll go to the next slide.
Sorry. Do it. Oh. What's happening?
Okay, I'm just going to breeze over this because a lot of this is still really basically the same stuff that you've seen many times before. I will tell you that the Metro SWAT team is extremely busy. So far, we've had 22 calls for service this year. Last year, we had 24 for the entire year. So the SWAT team is being used a lot. And it's that kind of testifies to the growth of the county and some of the things that we're dealing with in law enforcement throughout the county. Drug Task Force is still very active. We've talked about some of the risks, and I'll just touch on this again, because I think it's important for people to know, the dangers of what our children and our community are seeing in the drug world. Fentanyl is still huge, and one of the things that the cartels are now doing is mixing fentanyl with xylazine, which is a tranquilizer. And I really am concerned about that because a lot of times when we find drug overdoses, we've been able to use Narcan to help bring those people back. By putting xylazine in it, we may not be able to bring them back because the Narcan will not block the xylazine. Narcan blocks opioids. It doesn't block tranquilizers. So, this may be, a bad thing for the drug community, and they need to be extremely careful about what they're doing. So something that I'm really concerned about.
Ken, why is it that these drug peddlers would try to kill their customers?
Well, because it's all about they don't care about you.
I know they don't.
But
you're losing some of your
Yeah.
customers. Why would they?
Because you're creating new customers. By intensifying the effect, you're causing people to become addicts the first time that they use something. So when they take something with fentanyl and xylazine in it, they become an addict instantaneously. They're addicted, and so they're creating more and more addicts. They don't care about who
They
kills.
kill a few of them off.
Yeah, we'll kill a few, but we're going to gain a whole bunch more. So they don't care about that. And, when you're talking about that, it comes back to the same thing about human sex trafficking, especially child sex trafficking. The cartels have moved into child sex trafficking and human trafficking, and they're controlling that in Mexico. So when people talk about the border issues and why are border issues such a huge deal and why does it continue to show up on this brief, it's because it's affecting our community. The things that are happening down on the border and the problems of having an open border are coming directly across the border and coming into our communities all the way across the nation. So, you look at this is absolutely disgusting. But when you talk about cartels controlling child sex trafficking, they're moving further away from drug trafficking, more into child sex trafficking, because they can only sell a bag of cocaine once. But they can sell a 4-year-old child 7 times a day until they're 17 years old. It's all about money to them. They can care less about human suffering or what it is that they're doing to the people that it affects. And this is something that we need to be concerned about as a community. This is something that we really need to take a stand on in regards to our federal government and why they're not doing anything to control the border. This is huge for us, and it's having a direct impact on our community and every other community throughout the nation. So we need to be aware of that. Legislation, Senate Bill 179 is the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. We've met once now, so we're in compliance with that Senate bill currently. John, if you'll go to the next slide. Kind of where we're at currently across the county with our stats, and again, this is only the sheriff's office. We've had 8 aggravated assaults so far this year, 3 aggravated assaults on law enforcement, 3 air support, 118 agency assists, 25 burglaries, 18 child abuse or neglect cases, 115 felony offenses, 13 fires, and I'll just say on fires, we've had several fires in just this last couple of weeks. People need to keep in mind that there is a burn season for a reason, and that they have to have a burn permit in order to have their fire. They need to make sure that they're not just out burning things because they think they can. They'll be cited for that. And they put everybody at risk when they're not staying in compliance with applying for the burn permits and staying within the burn season. We had our first wildland fire of the year just this last week down in Canaryville. Kudos to our county fire folks and everything that they did. They kept it limited to about 5 acres, but they had a heavy helicopter coming in and giving support. They got on it right away and were able to keep that contained. So, kudos to them for
Is that a
job well done.
people caused?
I'm not sure if do you know if they ever got the
I know
cause
it
of
was
that?
initially reported as
It-
people caused, but I don't.
My son-in-law works on the crew, and he said that Ryan hadn't been able to determine the cause as of yet.
Yeah, as far as I knew, that I hadn't heard anything definite on it. Yeah, initially because of the location and stuff, they kind of suspected that maybe it was, but
Kind of a weird spot.
yeah, it was
wasn't
kind of an odd spot.
Yeah.
So, but again, they did a great job. Canines, we've had 37 deployments on the canine plus 2 in the jail. Mental health unit is up to about 6 calls this year. Misdemeanor offenses 438, other offenses 631. Public relations, I'm not sure that number is correct. I think that we probably have more, but for some reason our computer doesn't always pick it up right. 4 search and rescues, 3 sex crimes against children. And I'll just make a note here is currently we have 2 of our investigators back in Georgia, the Internet Crimes Against Children Conference. And that's something that is important to us, and we're working very diligently to try to build our capabilities to be able to do more and more of these Internet Crimes Against Children investigations and really try to make a difference in combating child sex trafficking. Other sex crimes, 69, welfare checks, 19, drug cases, 136, 29 DUIs, 119 animal problems. And I'll just say on our animal problems is our shelter is constantly full. We get to the point where we absolutely can't take any animals. We've worked with some of the other shelters in the area, and I was just notified by Unicare about 3 or 4 weeks ago that unless it's a vicious animal, that they can no longer take our animals because we're just putting too much of a burden on them. So we're in kind of a difficult situation with our animal shelter. We just have too much.
Being in the county, it's people just let their dogs run and that type of thing, and it
Yeah.
is a problem.
So the deputies are doing everything that they can to, try to locate the owners and whatnot. But a lot of times, unless it's a violent animal, we can't take it because we just don't have the space. So that's an issue. As far as our current strength of patrol, we're nearly up to strength. We have basically 1 more hire, and that is what we're looking for is a detective position. It's a minimum of 5 years experience. We don't have anybody in the sheriff's office that's currently qualified for that. So we've gone to outside, but we haven't received any takers so far. So we're still looking. We currently have, that's a correction on that. We currently have 1 new deputy in FTO, Mark Zakarian. Mark is a detective. He was a retired police officer out of Idaho. He'd been retired long enough that he had to go back through post, and he's graduated from post and is back in FTO and is doing a great job. And we're anxious to get him fully into the investigation section. We have 1 in post currently, Jared O'Mealy. Jared is a deputy that came to us from Lincoln County, Nevada. He was a canine handler over there, and we have also purchased his dog, and I'll talk about that here in just a minute. So, like I already said, under personnel, we're looking to hire one more detective from outside. We purchased a canine from Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, which has been funded by the Drug Task Force. Again, our animal shelter is full, and we're losing one of our secretaries, Melissa. Unfortunately, we hate to see her go, but they're leaving due to job opportunities for her husband in another state. So we wish them the best, and we'll be looking to fill her position soon. Our vehicles were finally about caught up. I think we've got I think 3 more vehicles coming in, and I think once we get those, we're pretty much going to be caught back up, which is the first time in about 3 years. So we're grateful for all the help there. And the jail is moving forward again as far as the design for the sheriff's complex, and we appreciate everybody's help with that. So any questions at all?
I think we're meeting at 1 o'clock with Wade to talk about vehicles.
Yes. Yes, I'm aware of that. So
How's the MCOT program working? Being on the Behavioral Health Board with 5 County, just curious.
you know,
How's that going?
I really haven't heard anything about it. It's
Mobile Crisis Outreach Team, for the record. Whatever.
we just haven't heard a lot about what's going on. We don't see a whole lot here with it in Iron County.
Okay.
I'm kind of assuming that it's successful down there, but we just haven't had much interaction with them up here. So,
One other thing that I noted, and this would be more probably Commissioner Wood's area, but I had a gentleman call me, and I don't remember his name or his company, but he serves on the search and rescue. He's a volunteer, and he does concrete for a living. And he said he would be willing. Something we still need to. I know they improved the drainage around the road crews, graded that to improve the drainage, but we still need to. It still slopes right into the building.
Right.
We need to cut that so that it drains and then drains around better instead of just in a big flood or rain event. It just flows right into the building.
it does.
But we need to, when we do that, when we grade that, we need to be careful of utilities. I know that when they had to grade the Cedar City Animal Shelter because it was built low, and they almost cut the power. So we need to just be careful with that when they cut that. But he was willing to, this gentleman, and maybe Dave, I told him to call Dave Mitchell, but he was willing to donate labor to pour the concrete if the county paid for it, and that would be, so if we got the road department to grade that, he would do the concrete in front. So
well, that'd be very helpful if
that might be nice, something to look at before the monsoons hit and
Yeah.
stuff.
Because it does. It floods the garage every single time, and occasionally it gets into the building itself. So, it really does need to be done. We need to find a permanent solution to that, and I think that would do it. I know that we've looked into that quite a bit, and it's just a matter of getting there finally.
Maybe we ought to follow up on that if you.
I'll
Dave-
check. with
Dave's
Dave.
probably aware
I'll check
of it.
with Dave and see if anybody's reached out to him or not. But
Yeah.
Any other questions at all?
The dog shelter. What can we do?
Build a new
So
one.
I'll see
Yeah,
things
yeah.
on Facebook. This dog's available, blah blah blah. But then you don't see anything for a while. Then something,
So we have several problems with that animal shelter. First and foremost, it was just a poor design. It was very inexpensive because it's just a steel building, and the runs are all just chain link runs. But part of the problem with that is we've had a parvo outbreak, and that parvo stays in the soil for up to 6 months. So in the outside shelters, if they get into the outside shelters, then that parvo can stay out there for up to 6 months. But inside, even though you use disinfectants and things to kill the parvovirus, if it spreads from one kennel to another, now you're just spreading the parvo throughout the entire kennel. And because they're
I know
chain
they've
link,
had a bad.
since they're
run
chain
with
link
that.
kennels, then it's before you know that you have a problem, you have a huge problem. And so we need to be able to do something more like what Cedar's done, where you've got block or some type of solid wall kennels inside, and you can control that directly into the drain and whatnot, and where it's not going from kennel to kennel to kennel. And it's just too small with the growth of the county. It's just too small. We're just constantly full, and our volunteers and our worker out there does a great job in trying to get them adopted out, get them to rescues and different things. But
It's hard.
It's hard. It's just we have so many animal issues in the county that we're just at a point
Well,
now where
at this point with the
constantly
jail, we've got to. That's our big project, and that's what we've got to concentrate on right now. But
that
that may be something that we
it-
could go with the jail we've
Which
talked
would-
about.
Yeah, and that would be great if it could. If it can't, then it's going to be definitely something that we have to look at in the future.
Yeah.
So,
Hey.
anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Appreciate it. Let's see. Guess we're to the commission. Mike, do you want to go first?
Sure. I didn't. I got to back up. I didn't
You want
take.
me to go first?
I didn't take notes. I don't. You know what? I don't have a whole lot. We've been working really. We've been working on getting down to the final planning of the CJC. That's been something that's weekly. In fact, Wendy and I and Jackson Ames from Enoch, who's our advisory board chair, are flying out to North Carolina on Wednesday. We're going to meet with a couple of centers out there who are the National Children's Alliance, who is the accrediting body of centers throughout the nation. Said, if you guys are building and if you guys, you need to look at these centers. One in particular, and then there's another one also really close to that. We were able to get really cheap airfare, and we're going to run out for a couple of days and meet with those centers. We actually have their plans, and our center is based off of their architecture and such. But we had the opportunity to run out there and meet with them for a couple of days. So we're going to do that later this week. Again, had the Beaver Iron Garfield Chamber board meeting this week. That was, I'm really excited to see that moving forward, bringing in more folks. I think I reported on this last time, but the government entities that originated are slowly being able to back out, and we're replacing those with personal business, which was the plan. So they're really doing well. We met as an airport board, and then I've met with Maria a couple of times on the side. There's a proposal to kind of rebrand the airport. And that's something that will be moving forward. That's something we're going to need to work through tourism. Also, working on getting an additional air carrier into the airport.
They're gonna.
We need an early flight.
I know.
That's all we need.
They,
all we need.
They're gonna build on too, aren't they? Gonna do an
yeah,
addition?
there's an expansion that's going to take the waiting area from 50 people to 200 people, which will open the doors for larger carriers.
Oh, good. So that'll attract them maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll help. Yeah, it's the flight scheduling's a mess. Talk about it offline. But it's a mess.
Huh.
So they're working on, maybe some other options to try and have some better service. That's it. We'll stop with that. Utah Summer Games, it was a great success. Opening ceremonies, being able to be involved in that. It's good PR for the county, and it's
Yep.
it's good to be partnered with those guys. So
Yeah.
Commissioner.
Hey, so on May 31st, we met with John and Chanel with the voting group. We've met with several different ones over the last couple of years, and they were great people, and they are concerned like everybody is. Of course, John needs to push back a little bit because we know that our voting here is great, and but they had some good ideas to maybe make it another level of security, and so that was good meeting with them. June 1st, the Iron County Queen was sent off, Tiles Mosley, to Miss Utah pageant, and she went up and represented us. She does a great act. Her talent is a ventriloquist. Yeah, and it's darling. And she did it for us that night as we sent her off. And she represented us well. I don't think she won it, but she was awesome, and she's a very cute girl.
Can I throw something in right there?
Sure.
So the girl that did win, Sarah Sun, was formerly our Miss Outstanding Teen by our county.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so-
awesome.
Yeah, so she's from Cedar City.
But she was in a different county then?
Soon,
Yes.
soon, right?
Soon, yeah.
Soon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sarah Soon. Yeah, I don't know. I think
She has a
I think she's going
relationship
to
here.
BYU. She's
Oh,
friends with my
probably
son.
in Utah County
in
then.
Music.
Oh,
Back in
nice.
Cedar High.
She played violin with my daughter. She's
Oh,
really
nice.
Really talented.
Oh,
so,
that's really great.
so yeah, Miss Iron County didn't win, but I don't know who she was representing, but she's a local and came through our Miss Outstanding
Yeah.
Teen.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I didn't realize
What is
that.
it?
So
Yeah,
that's a
so-
great to
So
point
that's
that
gr-
out.
That's awesome. If Talise couldn't win,
Yep.
I'm glad we have Sarah.
Yes, exactly. So then on June 6th, we had another SR 56 in Iron Springs ICE road with UDOT, the city and the county. Another meeting with that, and just looking at that, I think they're going away of a roundabout. I don't think they're not leaning that way. I think it'll probably just be an intersection, and they're trying to make it so that it flows better. But the biggest thing is the safety, because we all know that Y out there on 56 is not very safe. But they're still working through that. On the 7th, we had a jail meeting. We're getting down to the nitty-gritties on that. It was fun I sat in on so they talked about the kitchen. Rosa was there and talked about all of her things, and she was very knowledgeable, and she was great. And also other details that they're putting forth with the actual jail part. So we're getting into the nitty-gritties. It's exciting to go forward with this. Now, if we can just get our funds, we'll go ahead and start building, probably not till fall, December, that time. So on the 8th, I had the opportunity to judge a horse show. I'm over the extension office, so that was fun that I was able to actually help them, and that's a great program. My kids were in the horse 4-H for many years, and it was kind of different for me to go back. It's a little bit different, and but I was glad to help, and it's a great program. If the youth need a program to get involved in, that's a really great program to put your kids in. On the 9th, we met with Sam, our attorney, and Bruce. We went over, we're doing a property swap with a company out in Newcastle area, Geothermal. They want to heat some greenhouses with that geothermal, and we it just made sense for us because the gravel that they want to trade us will be way more beneficial than the property that we have now, but it'll be a great thing for them also. Like Mike said, we went to the Utah Summer Games and it was a great show, and we always like that relationship that we have with the college and the Utah Summer Games. It's a great program, and the kids were so excited that walked around the track, the athletes, and it was great. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. McKinnon Hansen asked me to be on the radio show this last week, and I gave a report on water in Iron County. It's been a really successful year. We had so much water that we were able to recharge. As of May 30th, we put 5,400 acre feet in the ground with all of our recharge basins. That's about 1.7 billion gallons, and that's when you consider a home takes about a half an acre foot of water to provide water for that home. That's about 10,800 homes. That's enough water that we put back in the bathtub to suck back out and provide. And so now that's only for 1 year. If we continue to have years like this, it would be awesome. So it's not that high. It's just this one peak year. But hopefully, in the future we'll have more good years, and it averages that up. It makes a difference. We appreciated, in conjunction with Ryan Riddle and the fire, that the county and the state, with our match, they bought another track hoe to do some mitigation with some of the vegetation in the county, and so we are able to use that track hoe as a county part-time and that's been invaluable to have that there. Use that almost every day to clean that channel and just babysit that water flowing into the Schmidt pit. That was a good one. That we continue to work with partnerships like Western Rock and Staker Parsons on developing more in the future, which is exciting, so that when we do have these big years, we can take advantage of the water we have. I know Parowan's kind of where we were 5 years ago with water, with the groundwater management plan, and so they're looking seriously at developing some things, and I've been working with Dan Jessen, their city manager, and on some plans for that. We mentioned the fencing, how much we appreciated that. I serve on the CDBG state board, and we had an emergency meeting this last week where we approved the fire truck for the West Desert for Newcastle. So we got that approved, so that was good. There was just two items. There was us, and I think Price had a request in that meeting, so we got that done. It was unanimous, so it was good. Marilyn mentioned a lot of what I was going to talk about, but it was Kathy Riggs. One thing they got her. We appreciate the Terry Palmer and his crew. They got that shed put in for Kathy Riggs behind her facility for the extension service. That'll be a little bit of overflow for classroom and storage and things. That's going to be Thane got it wired and insulated and sheeted, and so it's looking good. One last thing. This is kind of combination of flood and roads, but the road up at Right Hand Canyon had some severe damage due to the winter, and it was actually there was a huge section that was about to just fall off the cliff. I mean, the water had eroded underneath the road so bad that it lost the toe of the hill to hold that. There's about probably an 8-inch wide crack in the earth for about 200 feet, and it goes way down, and that could just
It took the asphalt. We had to take the asphalt
they had to
clear
dig
out
that up.
of that area.
Mm-hmm. And so I know that Rich Wilson had Rich and Bruce Anderson had Gem Engineering up there, and they looked at it, and we basically are taking all that flood that came down Urey Creek and Right Hand Canyon that brought all those big boulders. Curtis DeMille's been doing an amazing job. He's basically moving all those boulders in that section over and building a mountain of boulders up to shore up that bank and help to support the weight of that so it doesn't slough off, and then they'll let that continue to settle, and then they'll repave that later this fall. So
Probably this fall, yeah.
that's been something that and I've had a chance to go up. Bruce asked me to help a little bit, so I've had a chance to go up and have some therapy on a track hoe for a little bit, so it's been good. I think that's all I have. Is there anything
I
else
have
that you
one
guys-
more thing. So because of the amount of moisture that we had this winter and the damage that we've had on roads, and George Coulson has been visiting with the state about some funds that they have, and Rich Wilson, our engineer, and Justin from our road department, Justin Goodwin, they looked at the damage and the amount of money. We put that forward to the state. We're hoping to get even a portion of that because of course the road damage, that one up right hand, several of them. So it's put us really behind. Hamlin Valley was really bad. They had so much snow out there, and there was one of the ranchers that had to get to his cattle up there, and he took his cat up the road, and it did a lot of damage to that road. So we've just had a lot, and because of that, because we'll start on our chip seal coming up in the next few weeks. We were planning on doing 7700 West, and that was another thing. We got water into that pit. We was able to recharge some water into that pit, but that was the pit that we take the gravel out for 77. So it doesn't look like we'll go ahead and do what we can. We may get it this fall, but probably next spring on 77. We hope to get it done. We've got there's one in Newcastle we've got to get done, and then there's another one, I think it's 4200, that we need to also get chip sealed. So we're moving forward on that, but the moisture caused a lot of damage this winter, so that's the reason why I think that'll probably be put off a little bit. But
I was driving over 14 the other day. It's taking a beating on the roads everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
So it's a blessing to have the water, but it's hard on roads.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. So let's take about a 10-minute break, and we'll resume our meeting just after 10 o'clock. All right. We'd like to welcome everybody that's joined us for our county commission meeting this morning. Appreciate your attendance. We will go to the public hearings section of the agenda and go to item number 1, which is a public hearing. Discussion of possible approval of a proposed zone change from residential 5 acres, R5, to residential half acre, R1 half, for approximately 9.72 acres within the description listed in the agenda. And the applicant is Alan Shields. And Reed.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Morning.
This is Alan Shields as well as Iron County, because we're expanding beyond what his application was. This was recommended by the Planning Commission, the last Planning Commission meeting, and it is the properties that are located just north of Cedar City and west of Enoch City in the area east of Fifetown on the east side of on the west side of 2300 West. Before you get to the Fifetown subdivision. There's a row of 1 acre lots there. There are 10 1-acre lots that had been zoned R5 for many, many years. But because of now more interest in developing, and especially with the interest in being able to do a guest home on the property, it's really difficult to meet the setbacks of R5. And I just wanted to explain a little bit about the difference in those setbacks. I can show you just a chart here between R5 and R1 half. You can see there that on the front and rear setbacks, they're 60 feet in R5 and only 25 feet in R1 half, 30 feet in R5 and only 10 feet in R1 half. So it's really difficult to put a home and a guest home on that 1 acre lot and meet the R5 setbacks. Now, we've considered several different things, and we have an ongoing discussion, and we'll have an ordinance at the next Planning Commission meeting where we have a similar situation in A20. Setbacks in A20 and R5 are the same. And we have lots that over the years had been pre-existing non-conforming lots that were smaller than what the zoning requires now. We have 1 acre, 2 acre lots, half acre, quarter acre lots in A20 up on the mountain. When you try to apply an A20 setback to those, you can't build anything. And so we're considering an ordinance right now that would allow the setbacks of the zone similar to what size the lot is under certain circumstances. But in this case, they had applied for the rezone so that they could do that. And it changes a little bit the nature of the animals that you can keep, some of the uses that are there, and we felt that it would be more commensurate to rezone this property to R1 half than to leave it at R5. One of the biggest differences in R5 and the other zones is animals. That in R5 you can keep animals on a property without a residence being on the property. In R1 half and R1 you cannot do that. You have to have a residence on the property in order to keep animals there. And so a lot of these subdivisions where there's a lot of homes around that and somebody just brings in their animals and don't live there, it becomes a problem. We've had that problem over the years, and that was the reason that ordinance was created. So in this particular situation, back to the map, you can see that they all take their access off of my pointer right here, off of 2500 West, and they all have this narrower frontage, and then they're longer, deeper lots. There's about 3 of them that are currently built on, but this is the one that is, and they've applied, and we are processing currently an application for an administrative land use permit for a second home on this property for a guest house. And they just cannot fit it on there with the setbacks that are required in R5. So they asked for the zone change, and we thought, all of these lots are in similar situations, so it made more sense to do all of that. We sent letters out to all of the property owners within that those 10 lots, the owners of those 10 lots, as well as all of the property surrounding that, and haven't had any comment about it or had a couple of calls asking what we were doing, and when we explained it to them, they said, well, that's a good idea. We're in favor of that. So we haven't had any negative towards that concept. That's
So
what
there's
this
sewer
proposal
there
is.
also.
There is not sewer.
Oh, there's not.
No, there's water, Central Iron County Conservancy District water in the area. In fact, on
So
that
how
road.
do we go
Well,
less?
they're still 1 acre lots. We're not changing that.
We had to have 5 acres to go
If
on
we're
septic.
creating new lots for
Oh.
a subdivision, but they're already 1 acre lots
They're
that
lots.
can be, get a building permit on 1 acre. Changing it to R1/2 isn't going to change that requirement because it's still based off existing lots or the creation of new lots that require 5 acres. They couldn't subdivide if they were, when we wouldn't rezone if they were looking at doing a subdivision there because for less than 5
Change the
acres. But because they're
setbacks.
existing lots,
Yeah.
then it changes the nature of the setbacks and the types of uses that are there. So
I
that's
see.
what's behind that. So again, it's a 9.72 acres on 10 acres. Each of the lots are smaller than 1 acre. Just most of them are like 0.97, 0.95, 0.92 points, just a little bit smaller than 10 acres. So we have, all the lots will be on septic, but because of the water in the Conservancy District, there's fire suppression and, there's good water there, fire hydrants, and so it made sense to go this direction. Any questions?
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Reed. We'll go ahead and open a public hearing on this matter. Seeing no one to comment on this, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
As we review criteria and the considerations for rezoning property, of course, it's always about feasibility. Is it possible to do the things that are allowed by the zoning ordinance in the zone that we're going to? Is there water? Is there sewer, or giving these existing lots drainage, access, all of the things that are listed in our list of considerations for rezone? We've evaluated those with the Planning Commission and the staff and found that it makes sense to rezone under these circumstances. So recommendation from the Planning Commission was to rezone the property.
All right.
Motion.
Any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move for approval of a proposed zone change from residential 5 acres, R5, to residential ½ acre, R1/2, for approximately 9.72 acres. The description there, and it is located east of 2500 West and north of 3200 North, Cedar City, Utah.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 2, public hearing, discussion and possible approval of a proposed zone change from residential 5 acre R5 to commercial for approximately 10 acres within the section listed on the agenda. And this is located at approximately 1975 North Iron Springs Road, Cedar City, Utah. Applicant is Neil. Is it Neil?
Neiled,
Is that okay?
Montgomery.
Neil Montgomery.
The property is located just off of Iron Springs Road, immediately north of the Sunrise Christian Church and just south of where you turn to go the Desert Mound Road on the same side of the road. A couple of years ago, these properties were subdivided. In fact, this was the original subdivision application for the creation of these 3 lots. There are 3 5-acre lots north of the Sunrise Christian Church and that little road that runs along the north side of that. The owner of the 2 north lots, has requested to rezone those 2 lots to commercial, given the fact that now the property has been rezoned on the other side of the road to light industrial, and he believes that the interest and the best use of that property going forward is not as much residential as it is commercial, and he has interest in an applicant or in a sale that would require commercial use. They want to do a little RV park and a thing there that would be for a commercial operation. And so because there's Water Conservancy District water there, and they believe that, they'd be better served and have a better opportunity to develop that property as commercial, they've asked for this rezone. So as staff has evaluated that, there is a little bit of commercial property further down to the south along the side of the road there that has been there for a long time. This little piece right here, there's 2 parcels that are zoned commercial, have been for a long time. And that was a consideration right at the entrance to the subdivision right there, and with what's going on across the street now with the light industrial development, we believed and the Planning Commission recommended to rezone that property to commercial. that you can see this was a master plan, or excuse me, a dedicated road here that provides entrance into the back of this property that was planned for the future to be a residential subdivision and has good access here. But because of the frontage along the highway here and given the nature of the proposed developments on the east side of Iron Springs, the applicant has requested a rezone to commercial. So there are 2 lots, each 5 acres, so there's a total of 10 acres surrounded by industrial, R5 and light industrial. And you can kind of just see how we've gone through the criteria and the evaluation of the considerations that are on the rezone list. Any questions about that?
Planning Commission, did they?
Recommended approval?
Yep.
Mhm.
Very good. Any other questions? We'll open a public hearing. At this point, if anybody has a comment, please come to the microphone and state your name. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and let Reed wrap it up.
Again, the evaluation criteria are considerations for rezone. We've evaluated all of the things meet for additional uses. When, of course, we rezone property, we don't do it for just a particular project. Sometimes somebody has something in mind, but we want to consider all of the uses that are allowed in that zone, whether that would be applicable and whether it's feasible to do all those uses, and we believe that it is, given the fact that there's water there and good access right off of a primary road. So Planning Commission reviewed the criteria and found that it was in compliance with considerations for rezone, and that it would promote the general welfare of the county by doing so, and recommended approval.
All right. Entertain a motion on this one.
Right, I would move for approval of the proposed zone change from residential 5 to commercial for approximately 10 acres within the legal description as listed in the agenda, which puts it at approximately 1975 North Iron Springs Road, Cedar City, Utah.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 3, public hearing, discussion and possible approval of a proposed minor subdivision, New Harmony Ridge minor subdivision, 1 lot, approximately 20 acres, within the description of the agenda, and this is located near 1775 South, Old Highway 91, Canaryville, Utah. Applicant is New Harmony Ridge, LC, and also Jared Holt, presented by Reed.
I don't know if Jared made it. Oh, there he is. Jared, I just got a text. He's about 10 minutes out a few minutes ago, so I wasn't sure if he's here. I'm glad Jared's here to explain. We had some good discussion at the Planning Commission, and we discovered a couple of things through that public hearing process and notification that was useful. And so we've got some recommendations to make some modifications to the original subdivision request. The property is located just south of Canaryville on the immediate north boundary of Chickasha Cliff subdivision. You can see here that it runs right along Old Highway 91 on the north side of the Chickasha Cliffs. And the Chickasha Cliffs is zoned R1. That brown color is 1 acre lot subdivision that was done many, many years ago. We wouldn't do, again, sewer related issues. They're have septic in that area with no sewer availability. This is the configuration of the lot. It's a little unusual in that it has adequate frontage on the highway, and then there's a public road that's just on the south side of that lot coming into Chickasha Cliffs that it can also take access from. But they started with a request to do a 5-acre parcel because that was the old sewer requirement. Then when we adopted the new sewer requirement for Canaryville, it required 10 acres. They wanted a 10-acre lot. Then when we realized that the primary lot from which they're doing this didn't qualify as a minor subdivision or a 100-acre split, the exemption, because it was not a legal lot because it had been divided by an agricultural split. It needed to be legitimized. So that left us with the 20 acre because the zoning is A20. So now this is a request for a 20 acre lot. And we appreciate the Holtz working through and conforming with the ordinances and recognizing those things that are on the book. Sometimes it makes it a little more difficult. Given the fact that especially because it's part of a pivot, they can lease back part of that lot. It's for a family member to build on originally. Jared's sister, Bob's daughter, wanted to build right there. They're still working through where she'll build exactly, but they wanted to go forward with this subdivision to create this lot, and then they can just continue to operate the pivot there, and it wouldn't interfere with that. That's just how they wanted to configure it to get the 20 acres. What we learned, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of that lot, there's a little road that runs across here, and I've got some better better images that show that. This is just where I wanted to point out the access off of Old Highway 91 at this point. 1775 South is a public road as part of the Chickasha Cliff subdivision. So they'll be able to access that lot from the south side right here, which will also make it nicer. That they have enough frontage and they've got an access off of the Old Highway 91, but if they can access off of 1775 South, then that reduces one more entrance point off the highway, and that's always desirable. This is the aerial of that bottom corner in the southeast corner of that lot where this road goes across. Let me go back here and just point out again, it's an aerial image of this area right here, and you can see this little road that runs across here to this point. What that is, and you can even see on this image the gate right here. There's an entrance gate to Zion National Park that has a trailhead right there. And so this road has been there for a long time, and the Holtz recognize that as a road that needs to continue to provide public access to public property. And so they're willing now on this subdivision plat to
Dedicate
do an easement for the public across that property so that they can continue to access that at the trailhead. This is what it looks like. Also, there's a road.
Will that access through Chickasha subdivision or through
It's
the Holtz
through
program?
Chickasha Cliff subdivision right here. This is a public access, a public road, and it would just continue that way.
That little bit.
The people at the visitor center down below at the Kolob station, that's how they direct people over to this trailhead, is through the subdivision and then around the back of that. This little 2-track road that runs along, let me come back to there. There's a little 2-track road that runs kind of along this north side or the south side of this lot right here. And then there's a little 2-tracker that kind of comes through these lots and people access through here. Those are not public roads and not public access. So the public access would come through, in fact, let me go back right here to this image. It would come through the main subdivision entrances right here, and they come up on, these are public roads in the subdivision, and can come up through here, and that's how that's accessed. So they would continue to be able to do that through this. This also, you can see from that point, there's and has been for a long time, a gate and a sign right here that says private property, and has been locked off and on at different times. But it is an access road that runs along the pivot, along the base of the hill here, comes around and is the access to the water tank up on the top of the hill that is now under the Iron County Water Conservancy District operation. And you can see in the plat that we had a little carve out right there for that lot. That's where the water tank sits right here. And so that lot takes off right from the corner of that, kind of right through where this access needs to go. I've got a better image here. Let me get to what we're talking about. So this is kind of what we came up with. The blue would be the public access, and the red would be a private access to provide access to the Water Conservancy District. And so they're willing in the dedication for this lot. And so what we have is we have the lot itself, which is the yellow, and it's a one-lot subdivision. Then we have the remainder parcel, which is the rest of that big field of which we're taking the lot from. And so there's, on the lot, would have a public access where the blue is, and then just a little strip of red for the private access across this lot.
That'll be
and
the
then
easement
the
as
red
well.
continues on through to the which would be a public access on the remainder parcel. So it wouldn't be this whole road wouldn't be, called out as a reserved easement for this lot, because this lot would only reserve the easement right here as a private easement across the lot, and then it would be on the remainder parcel here for the rest of that, since they're
Property
separate.
is that, the rest of that road zone?
It's the same property that we're taking this lot from.
Oh, it's,
Uh-huh.
okay.
It's the, let me
Holtz.
come back.
It's the whole,
Here,
it
yeah.
goes all the way up there.
Yep, it goes, let me come back to the big subdivision plat. So you can see here that this whole lot,
Okay.
that road essentially goes right through here like this and up around and down to here. So, it just kind of has a little loop right here, and this is where the water tank
So
is.
is there an easement with the Holtz for that road?
There will be, as a
With the
result
plat.
of this.
Okay.
When they carved that lot out on the top of the hill there and sold that's the Conservancy District lot. I don't know what kind of easement there is in place for that right now, because there's a water line that comes down off of there, and that's what we will call out as an access easement on this remainder parcel, that little strip on the new lot, and then the public access to get to the trailhead.
So the trailhead is to the south.
The
of
trailhead is just right where the little loop,
that. Yeah.
the
gonna
little
say.
blue is. The blue would be the access and the
And
trailhead.
that goes on
and the
BLM
trailhead
and-
goes right through the gate, just right here.
Is there just one trail up
Yes,
through into there?
yes, that's
How
the
many
only
miles
trail
does that
access
go
right
up in there?
Well, it goes up
You
in
know?
there quite a ways. There's about a quarter mile up in there. There's a falls that's
Oh.
quite nice. This time of year when there's high water, it doesn't always run, but there's a little waterfall there.
Oh, yeah.
It goes up into that quite a ways. I think it's called Camp Creek. Camp Creek. And it doesn't always run, but it is right now. It is running. There's a nice little waterfall right there, and it's an access to the park.
Nice.
So that's pretty much a rundown on this. It meets the criteria of the ordinance in that they have water connection through the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District. They have good access. It qualifies for a septic. And so it meets the criteria of an ordinance for the A20. We are asking for a variation for fencing, that lot not have to be fenced as part of that subdivision lot because of the way that the pivot works right there, and there is a perimeter fence around the other portion of the lot that keeps anything from accessing that lot from the south side other than the same family property on the north side. So we're asking for that variation on the fencing. Any questions before public hearing? Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If you have a comment on this issue, please come to the microphone and state your name. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Reed?
We did have, some public hearing comments from the neighbors, and that's how we became aware of this road, and it was good from the Planning Commission, but the Planning Commission voted to approve this contingent upon reserving that and working out the details of the easement along the south side of that property to be able to provide park access. And apparently they felt comfortable enough that they didn't come this morning and make sure that got done. So maybe they're listening online, making sure we're doing that. But anyway, that was the only other condition for this. It meets the criteria of a zone at all of the subdivision requirements under the construction and design standards. And so the request is, as recommended from the Planning Commission, would be to approve contingent upon the public easement to Zion National Park trailhead and the private access easement to the water tank and the water line.
Very good.
Jared, did you have anything else to add or clarify? We did okay?
All right.
Ready for a motion? I would move for approval of the proposed minor subdivision, New Harmony Ridge minor subdivision, 1 lot, approximately 20 acres, located near 1775 South, Old Highway 91, Canaraville, with those variants of, with the fences.
Variation of the fencing and the condition,
condition
of
of
the getting the easement on the
the
plat.
easements.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4, public hearing, discussion and possible approval of a proposed preliminary subdivision, Averett preliminary subdivision, 4 lots, approximately 87.65 acres within the section listed. On the agenda, this is located near 1400 East Highway 56, 600 South Burl, Utah. Applicant Escalante Farms, LLC, care of Jared Holt, presented by Reed.
This property is located, as you can see here on the vicinity map, just off of Highway 56 and east of Highway 18 in the Burl area. Highway 56 splits the original parcel of property that has property on the north and the south side. This image, the lighter yellow on the top, is what would be the remainder parcel, and the bottom part in the heavier yellow line with the star on is the parcel that's now being split into 4 lots. Even though this is what we call a maximum density subdivision, in that we take the overall density allowed by the zoning, it's 87 acres, so you could create 4 lots. But those 4 lots can be configured in any other way that each lot doesn't have to be at least 20 acres. They can be reduced below that acreage, and we've done several of these over the last several years since we've created this option, and it's been really handy, and it's been a good thing. So as you can see by this plat, that is a preliminary plat because we have the dedication of the road, and you can just see, I'll zoom in here, maybe that's the next, yeah. You can see here that we have to create a new road right here that has to be dedicated to provide access to this lot. So we've got 3 5-acre lots here, and then a 87.6 5-acre lot that make up the 4 lots. So, you know, not all of them are 20. 3 of them are 5 and one's 87, because that allows for, yeah, I was going to say that in combination it's 87, but the lot 4 is just 71.83 acres. My math wasn't very good. Delta High School math didn't get me too far. We have a previously dedicated road on the east side or west side of this subdivision that comes down off of here, and it was done as part of the Green Valley Acres Edition 4. That was never improved. Of course, these old subdivisions out there, there's a lot more problems with them than just the fact that the roads weren't approved. But that does provide a legal access down to where this road would come off. And then as part of the subdivision requirement, they would have to improve the on-site road that they're dedicating and the off-site improvements out to Highway 56. So they'll come off of Highway 56 and bring that road up to county standards, down along the west side of their property, and then improve into the and then with the cul-de-sac end there, and that provides access. So that provides that access to this lot here by having at least 300 foot of frontage along the side here, and then this lot has 300 feet of frontage, and these lots already have the frontage along this side. So in order to qualify under the subdivision regulations, that's what it ended up looking like and what they were trying to get out of 4 lots. They're trying to provide housing, as we've had, you know, a couple of different subdivisions here lately by the Holt family, Escalante Farms, trying to provide lots and properties to be able to provide housing for their employees out there, and they've done a really good job in trying to make that happen and comply with our ordinances and bring some of these lots that were you know, I call them
Not
illegal
good.
lots, but
Not good lots.
agricultural lots that were subdivided they were divided under the exemption of the agricultural provision. But they just didn't qualify for building permit or to subdivide, so that's why they're going through some of these subdivision requirements in order to make these lots legal and eligible to have a building application for a building permit for residents. And so that's what we've got here. The only other consideration is that the new language that we have put in the standard for roads in the subdivision and off-site improvements is that if the road takes access off of an already paved or chip sealed road, then the road in the subdivision needs to be paved or chip sealed. We've had quite a bit of discussion between the road department and the county engineer and the Holtz, and determined that we would seek a variation on that, and the planning commission agreed that it didn't make sense to chip seal that road because the county doesn't have any other chip seal roads out in that immediate area to maintain, and they have other gravel roads in that area to maintain. It's just a little bit further east than 1000 East, which is a big gravel road, Jones Road, that they maintain. And so they felt that given the low use of traffic on that road, some of the roads that we have paved that don't get a lot of traffic don't hold up very well, especially a chip seal. Weeds start growing through, and when you're not driving on them, they don't hold up as well. And we felt that we would be better off having the ability to maintain a road and a better road for everybody with less cost by having it a good gravel road. And so that's what the recommendation was from the planning commission. So we would seek a variation on that for
The county will take over the road.
the county
as
will
far
take
as
over maintenance of the road, and Bruce and Rich both felt like they would be better served by letting that be a
Yeah,
county.
and that is a problem when you have to. You have
It's hard to maintain by itself
is.
a little
It
stretch
is
when
by
you don't have
itself.
anything else out in that area for
Yeah.
chip seal, where with the gravel, we already are maintaining other gravel roads in that area. There's a grader going down there all the time, and it would be easier to maintain that and have a better product.
You have
overall.
one other question. So that the rest of that big property will never be able to be split because of that.
That's correct.
The small
Until,
areas.
unless, and at some point there becomes
Septic tank. Or,
sewer or
Yeah.
rezoning or some change that could occur there in time. But under our
would-
current ordinances, that
That's-
lot is using the density of the other lots, and so it's a one subdivision that lot could not be further split into smaller lots.
Is that Neva Street the bit that's going to be brought up to standard by the developer? Is that going to be the only thing in Green Valley Acres 4 that will be county maintained?
Yes. They'd only take over the part that's been brought up to county standard, and that would just be that section down to their property and going into that subdivision.
Thank you.
and into the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing that came up in the discussion with the planning commission was how can they do 5-acre lots there now that we have in Newcastle a minimum of 10-acre lots. This falls outside of the service area for that study. It's just a little further west than what the area was for the service area, in which the 10 acres is limited to each new lot. And so this falls back to the rest of the county that we have the 5-acre minimum, and that's why those can be 5 acres. Because again, we're still spreading that effluent given 87 acres there. So there's still only 4 lots on 87 acres. So we haven't increased the density of a 20-acre density for septic or the lots. And that's why we're able to do that under the ordinance.
What supplies water for these lots?
They have a well. It'll be a private well. And that's part of why we only have 4 lots. Fits within the threshold of a non-public system that doesn't have to have fire suppression water. If it gets to 5 to 7, it has to have 30,000 gallons of fire suppression water on site. Gets above 7 to 8 or more, then it has to be a public water system, and they have to have hydrants and fire flow. So it just fits within the threshold of what is more easily maintained and being able to serve those lots. So any questions about that subdivision, or I don't know if Jared has any more to add to it.
Very good. We'll go ahead and open a public hearing on this agenda item, number 4. If you have a comment, come to the mic and state your name. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Let Reed wrap it up.
Again, the criteria for a preliminary subdivision, we've evaluated that as staff and planning commission. We reviewed that and finds that it meets all of the criteria. This is just some language in the maximum density subdivision option part of the ordinance, where it is to allow the entire property to be divided into the number of lots permitted through the zoning of the property, which is the 20 acres, so 4 lots. And then the property can be configured without the minimum or maximum area required in the zone. And so that's just where this language comes from in the ordinance. to have as part of our, record and findings. Meets all of the other criteria. So we're seeking variations on the fencing. Again, the entire property isn't fenced. There's not it's not an area where there's a lot of livestock moved through the area, cattle trails and things like that. And the reason behind our requirement to have the subdivision fenced is a fence out rule, and that people understand that, but out here we're in an agricultural area and they know what they've got out there, and it's just an additional requirement we didn't feel was necessary. And so we're seeking variation for fencing in the chip seal road standard.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, go ahead.
I'd move for approval of the preliminary subdivision, Averett preliminary subdivision, 4 lots, approximately 87.65 acres, within the legal description as memorialized in the agenda. Located near 1400 East Highway 56, 600 South in Burrell, Utah. And a note of variation for the fencing requirement as well as the chip sealed road requirement.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Reed.
Thank
And
you.
might I just add how much we appreciate staff and our planning commission. We, it's invaluable to go to those meetings and kind of get some of the background on these items that come to our agenda, but I know I think they get paid double missionary wages, and so it's not a lucrative position. And I know
They've taken a lot of abuse recently.
they
too,
take a lot of
so
They
abuse,
have, yeah.
and I know the other
really
night
appreciate them.
they were there till I think midnight.
Yep.
And so we want to appreciate. Would you pass along how much
I
we
will.
appreciate
Thank
the
you.
planning commission?
Appreciate you
and
mentioning that.
staff. What
Oh,
you do.
Really
we
do.
hopefully have some appointments
Some-
today. Could,
Yep.
could we just
Yep.
take care of that right now while we're
Sure.
on it? And
That'd be
since-
great.
instead of going up
And
the
you'd be
other item,
done.
and then
Yeah.
I'll be here, and then I'll come back.
Absolutely.
I expect we're back on for 2 today, right?
Yes, I believe it.
For
As
the-
long
for
as
our
Wade isn't
discussion,
too
we can
long-winded.
Move that
Yes.
back because
Wade.
we'll wait. So we'll do that, and.
Wade and the sheriff.
Yeah, and let me mention one other thing really quick that we can discuss when we meet again, but while I have if you'll indulge me for just a minute on a similar item,
Thank you for coming, Jared.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jared.
thanks.
Jared, thanks. Last Wednesday at our RPO meeting, and I can wait to do this in public comments if you would prefer
That's
me
fine,
to do
go
that,
ahead.
but there's some funding, highway transportation funding called the SS4A program, grant funding we just became aware of. Stands for Safety Streets. Yes, thank you. Safety Streets and Roads for All. And they have $5 billion to be spent over 5 years. The grant application deadline is July 10th. And I just wanted to mention to the sheriff and to maybe George, and we'll put out some information. And we're going to try, 5 counties willing to help us try to get an application in. Cedar City has already applied for some funding and has been awarded some funding. Enoch is considering an application, and we're considering whether we can get in on that deadline or not. There's a 25% match. And so what the first grant application would be is to request a study to help identify all of the safety issues in transportation in the county. It could be related to flood structures, maybe, where we have to cut roads when it's flood time, bridges, railroad crossings, any road condition that we would consider a safety condition would be evaluated during this time. Washington County just submitted an application for $1 million for their study. I think, $200,000 or $300,000 would cover us countywide. I don't know whether we want to try to roll in what Cedar City's already done, whether Enoch wants to submit a separate application, but we've tried to coordinate and say maybe it makes sense to just do a countywide one, a plan. But I don't know how that would work and whether we would have time to coordinate all of that. I just wanted to mention while I was in the public meeting to let all of our departments bring to us anything they're aware of that is a safety, street, or road consideration that we ought to study, evaluate. Because this study in this first year is to try to identify them and to figure out what they need to repair them. And then there'll be money available in subsequent years to make those repairs or to do those things that we can get money for more easily if we've had a study to show the need. And so that's what this first study does. But it does have a 25% match, and we would have to figure that out in the budget and figure out how much we would want to apply for. But I just wanted to throw that out quickly.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what
Planning
agenda
Commission
item?
appointments?
Planning
Planning Commission appointments?
Yeah.
Let's go
Okay,
ahead
go
and
ahead.
do that if we
Delegated.
can.
Was there
I
just
didn't hear what
two,
you said.
or was there another one that
There's
we?
two.
There's just two.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to do that?
It is on the non-delegated
Is it listed on there?
item.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't have their name specifically, but
Yeah. Which
but
we
I can give those
probably
to you.
should.
Why don't you present the
have-
names and,
yeah.
We have those.
Yeah.
Michelle Tullis
Michelle
and
Tullis
Jared,
and Jared
Christensen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jared Christensen would serve out the remainder
West
seat
Desert.
for Craig Lobb, who has represented the Western Desert area as well as the Buckhorn because of his knowledge
Yep.
there. It was been useful, but we've always tried to have somebody. Craig replaced Mike Brown from out there, and we've always tried to have a representative out in that area. And so Jared Christensen was Craig's suggestion, and I visited with Craig or Jared, and he's
He wants
willing
to
and able and would be a real good resource. Jared is currently the president of the Newcastle Water Association that serves the Newcastle area and is very knowledgeable about building issues and agriculture. And so I think he'd be a real asset to the Planning Commission. And then Michelle Tullis is the vice president at State Bank over commercial loans and has a good background because of her husband being in construction and her ability to understand development, and would be a really good resource for the commission as well. And so we feel good about those appointments.
all right,
Okay. I'll,
get a motion.
My turn. I'll move to approve Michelle Tullis and Jared Christensen for the Planning and Zoning
Second.
Commission.
It's been moved and seconded to approve these two names. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you doing that.
Okay, now we're back to public appointments on the agenda. Item number 5, which is a public comment period. We allow 3 minutes per speaker. If you can come to the mic and state your name if you have a comment, public comment, not associated with an agenda item. Seeing none, we'll go to number 6, discussion and possible approval of 2 local consent for Epicureans on the Edge, Utah. Did I say that right?
Yes, it is Epicureans on the Edge.
That's quite a.
On the Edge, Utah Wine Festival and Cedar Breaks Dinner. Utah Wine Festival to be held on September 2nd, 2023. And this is Jaden Reardon that's presenting this.
Perfect. Thank you. As you said, my name is Jaden Reardon. I'm with IG Winery and the Utah Wine Festival. This year will be our 5th year conducting the Utah Wine Festival. It brings hundreds of people to our county to celebrate Utah vineyards and wineries. There has been a change. The Cedar Breaks dinner, Cedar Breaks isn't going to allow us to do a dinner there, so it's been moved to Bryan Head Resort, so I'll just work with Bryan Head Town to get that local consent. With Epicureans on the Edge, it is a wine pairing dinner just right up above the sea on Cedar Mountain. The property is owned by Linford Nelson. He's fully supportive of us doing that there, and this would be the second year doing that.
Does the application need to reflect the change in venue for the dinner, or?
So there should be the two, the Epicureans one, that's perfect, that's ready, and then we'll just disregard the Cedar Breaks one.
Okay.
We'll just pass the one, and then you'll come back with the next one.
Well, the next one will
Brian.
go to Brian Head.
Yeah, the next one will go through Bryan Head Town.
Gotcha.
It's at the resort.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, I'd move for approval of local consent for Epicureans on the Edge Wine Festival.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You're in business. Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, yes, let me
Got 'em
sign
right
that.
there.
Would
Sign
you
that,
just
Rick.
stop and make sure it's a copy of the executed one? You can just take that with you, and you know where my office is. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Let's see. There's two of them.
Counter.
I guess, is that
Let's
yours?
see, and one is the one that we're gonna not do.
Is that, which one do I give him?
one's perfect, and that's one we're not.
Oh, yeah, we
But
don't
it's
need.
okay. We'll just, would you explain that to Chanel?
I will.
Thank you. Make sure you've got
Hey,
your,
thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Uh-huh.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 7, discussion and review the current status of Vision Iron County, presented by Vision Iron County. Rob Dotson, you're our spokesman today.
Yes, thank you. My name is Rob Dotson. I currently serve as the city manager of Phoenix City and the previous chairman of the Vision Iron County Steering Committee, representing Crystal Rockwood, who is the current chair, who is out of town at this time, to discuss with you Vision Iron County, the current status, and etc. And I'm going to try to be brief and yet tell you everything. So I apologize to those who are bored and want me to be brief, and I apologize to those who want more information. So I've apologized to everybody in the room and listening. Vision Iron County, you may be aware of it, may be connected to it in some way. It was started in 2017 when the director of the Chamber of Commerce, Chris McCormick, who's in the room with us right here, saw that there was a lot of duplication of efforts in the community. And I don't know if you knew this, but there's people moving here. I don't know if you had that in your, there's a lot of things happening
Yeah.
in Iron County. And if you are engaged in this in your position right now as county commissioners, because we just saw that in these events that are happening, and also in land use, which you just took care of some things today. There is a lot of duplication of efforts. There's a lot of things happening. We consider Vision Iron County, it was started in 2017, kind of like an airport control tower. If you could visualize that in your mind, a lot of airplanes coming and going, and there's thousands of airplanes, proverbial airplanes coming and going in our community. And a lot of them, many of them, most of them don't speak to each other and don't see what's happening outside of their own flight path, right? So this is an effort of individuals coming together to discuss common interests, common goals, to find solutions, and also to discover areas where they might be able to help each other. In the room today, there are members of different teams that were created from Vision Iron County. I did send you that brochure or that document that was made with some information. And there's also a very valuable, which I sent in a separate email, I think it was sent to you, which is this booklet, the Vision Iron County Visioning Strategy book that was created. Incredibly valuable, with a bunch of information on the history of Vision Iron County, what our purpose is. You engage in planning all the time. All of our organizations do in the county. The challenge lies in, it's easy to hire an engineer. I mean, it's financially not sometimes, but it's easy to hire an engineer to give you administrative details, how to do X, Y, and Z, where the pipes are going to go in the ground, how deep they go, where the roads are, should we build a park here, should we not? All those kind of factors come into play. However, engaged with that, and part of that are a bunch of different stakeholders. And those stakeholders, like I said before, are the planes flying around doing their own thing. But the avenue of communication becomes a problem. And so you, as planners of our community, right, have to find out what the stakeholders need to be more successful. Vision Iron County is an effort to do this for our community. No one's paid. This is all volunteers. Chris McCormick volunteers. If you can, we've got Sean. If you can stand and just introduce yourself real quick.
Sean Kelly. I'm with the I guess the subgroup Parks, Rec, and Open Space, and I'm from Bryan Head.
And I'm Diana Stiller. I'm also with the same Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Pros Committee.
Yeah, acronyms. We have to use acronyms, right? Say Parks, Recreation, Open Space really fast. Pros is easier. Actually, Crystal's husband is sitting in the back right there. So he's the support, right? And then, of course, Council Member Scott Phillips from Cedar City is involved in Vision Iron County also.
I'm on the transportation.
Yes, and Reed Erickson has been involved from the very get-go, as many have. That's some of the many people. One of the most important things that we have to do and share with you today is the successes we've seen already. As this steering committee has engaged and created these teams, there's 10 teams, infrastructure, transportation, parks, recreation, open space, economic development, community character. Oh my word, my mind just went blank. There's so many. There's a bunch. Anyway, let me move on.
There's your list right there.
Oh, there's the list right there. Transportation, land use and housing, arts, entertainment and tourism, education and healthcare. And they're all connected. They're all coming into the same place. They're all bouncing off each other in different ways. And this is an effort to bring everybody together to give any planning that needs to be done a tool. Cedar City used Vision Iron County's strategy and other sources to create their general plan. Some of those conversations came together for our combined transportation study, which was done for Cedar City and Enoch, that came together. So the idea is to get people together to have discussions that otherwise wouldn't happen. Most recently, the economic committee, economic development team came together, had a meeting, and we had in that room Southern Utah University, representatives from the building industry, representatives from the tourism industry, representatives from the governor's office, representatives from municipalities, and representatives from the farming industry, agriculture, and representatives from insurance company and State Bank of Southern Utah, all in one small room, having common discussions together. From that meeting came information to some of these organizations of tools and opportunities that they never knew of before. One of which was Southwest Tech's grant program through the state, where you can get training. Any kind of training that your company needs to do, a portion of it can be paid for. Whether you're 2 people in a company or in fact it was Schmidt Construction that was there in the room, which I'm sure you're familiar with them, a large company doing construction in our area. So this is one example of the many, many conversations that we had in one place. Bringing that information to a central site, which is what's called Vision Iron County. You can bring it up on your computer and look at the information that's being populated there. And that time to create that's been donated by Allen Marketing out of Cedar City. It's just a constant effort to bring people together to have common discussions and find solutions before there's problems. Now, this is a tool that you as and your planning commission can use, but there's need for a lot of support. We know you support this because you've been involved, but also we're trying to create a 501c3. We are creating a 501c3, not trying to obtain funding to continue this forward and get some potential professionals involved with administration. We currently have a project manager who is being paid by remind me who's paying for that? The VISTA program? AmeriCorps. and it's a great grant that they provided, but it's temporary. And so there's opportunities in the future for funding to help with this. Chris, do you want to add anything? Give you an opportunity real quick. Sure. And then I'll give you a document which has a survey that we created. It's a simple survey that we're getting out to all these communities which are a part of Iron County: Burl, Bryan Head, Cedar City, Cedar Highlands, Enoch, Hamilton Fort, Hamlin Valley, Canaryville, Lund, Modena, Newcastle, Old Irontown, Paraguna, Parowan, and Summit. Hamlin Valley, I'm not sure which tree we should staple one of these on. Do you have any ideas?
Wouldn't hurt.
And I'm not sure if anybody out there really wants to get out their phone and put a QR code, but they might. Who knows?
Anyway, yes, Chris McCormick. Thank you. So in regards to the 501c3, one of the things that we saw that a lot of the smaller communities in Iron County struggle with is finding matching funds and things like that for various projects. When you have grant matches or things like that, a lot of them struggle to find those funds. So that would be one of the purposes for the 501c3. We don't want to do your job. That's one thing right up front we want to get out in the clear, is that we want to be a partner. We don't want to come and tell you how to do your jobs, but we want to be a resource and a tool for you to use to help your projects become easier for you. Some of the things that have happened in our meetings is just having people together and having conversations. One example, we had UDOT in the room for a meeting, and there was a long discussion about the North Interchange and how the traffic used to back up all the way down onto the freeway at 5 o'clock at night. We all know that. And they put it on the study list right there in that meeting, and less than 6 months later, they've got 3 lanes up there, and it has solved the problem. So there are great things that are happening, and we just want to be a resource to you and just partner with you. Not this in no way is to tell you how to do your jobs whatsoever, but you know, the 501c3 also is there to do things that came out of that survey. So one of the things that was really important to the people of Iron County was preserving green space and agriculture. And yet we also understand the need to protect personal property rights. And so if people want green space but nobody's buying it, that's something that we could do with that 501c3 as well, is purchase some of those lands to preserve them in perpetuity, so that this area still has those green spaces and agriculture available for years to come. So there's a number of different purposes, but ultimately this has been a really positive thing, and it's gaining momentum, and people have been very pleased, and we've just been thrilled with the support and the effort from so many different people. Reed early on was one of the people that came and helped us out and has just been a great resource to us. And he saw the value in partnering and working together, because if we work together, we can make everybody's job easier. And that's really what we're about. And hopefully not duplicating efforts. So that's all I have to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So to finish up quickly, we need your help. We need to get the word out to our community. Everyone who wants to be engaged can be engaged in this effort. There are avenues of conversations. There's team meetings, sometimes monthly, sometimes every 2 or 3 months, depending on the team. And there's some teams that haven't really gotten together yet. And so this is really moving forward at a appropriate pace in many ways, and not too quickly, but the conversations are being had. I'm going to hand you this QR code. I'm actually going to leave a couple right here for those in the audience here who can want to QR code themselves and fill out a really super short survey, and you can see exactly what that information can get to people. One last story. We were sitting in our meeting with transportation, our team meeting, and there was probably about 6 people in the room, and a gentleman who runs a nonprofit organization spoke up and said, "I have a problem. I teach families how to fix bikes." That's what he does. He gets together with parents and children, and they fix bikes, and then the kids can take the bikes and go. But I have a hard time finding bikes, especially cheap bikes. You know, bikes that need a little repair but not are completely destroyed. He doesn't want to go out to the landfill, right, and pick up bikes that are crushed or anything like that. He needs cheap bikes that are simple to repair. So happens that our public works director was sitting in the meeting too, and he has a problem. He has a problem with, we had a metal pile where people bring their bikes, and they dump bikes all week long. And it's incredible how easy it is, I guess, to go buy a new one rather than to fix a chain or fix a sprocket or something like that, or blow the tires up because they're flat. Seriously, that's how bad it is sometimes in our culture. But they got together, and now that gentleman can come to our shops and pick up bikes for nothing because they're being thrown away. What a simple approach that benefits people, that never would have happened unless those two were sitting next to each other having a quick, short conversation. I call that a miracle for some family who dad doesn't know how to fix a bike, but here's an opportunity and wants a bike, and they can find bikes and it doesn't cost them anything. Now imagine that on a grander scale. Imagine that when we're trying to find solutions for a correctional facility, or we're trying to find solutions for all kinds of huge things that you're trying to accomplish. I think this is a great avenue and a great source. So Enoch City, Cedar City, and all these other communities and the people in them can be benefited by joining together. So that's where we're going. This is going to be a lifelong effort for many people, and we invite you to join us. Okay?
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
I just want to say kudos to the effort, especially given the fact that they've committed to solve the affordable housing issue in Iron County too.
That's awesome.
So that's really good. We really appreciate them for that. They do a lot of good
Wonderful.
Solving.
And the water challenges too. We're just, yeah.
So a couple of things, Rob. We received a letter of support from Robert Below.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, I just wanted to. He was happy about the kind of the planning aspect of it and considering the green space and open spaces and parks. And then, do you have? Is there a human link that we could read into for people?
A
You
what?
got the tiny URL dot blah 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 blah. But is there a web page that we could go to that's human speak?
VisionIronCounty.org.
Okay, perfect.
And we appreciate the Chamber of Commerce for actually managing the infrastructure of this. Hopefully that gets pushed off to this whole group becomes its own entity and doesn't need to take a lot of their time because they're swamped already. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys folks that are involved in this. Any other comments on this issue?
No.
We'll go to item number 8. This is a resolution 2023-7, and this is a resolution opposing the designation of the proposed Grand Canyon National Monument. And this is a resolution that we actually plagiarized from another entity that passed this in their body. But it's concerning as we see the Antiquities Act, in my opinion, abused. You look at and Mike, what's the percentage of Iron County that's owned by the federal government? 61. I know our friends to the east, Garfield County, they're 93% owned by the federal government. And then you look at the Escalante Grand Staircase Monument and what through the ranchers off and the grazers, and they want to propose this, which would be really detrimental to those that use the Arizona Strip, the mining, logging, agriculture, grazing.
Most of those folks are from Utah, by the way, because of the topography of the area. Most of those are Utah ranchers, and it would be devastating.
But this Antiquities Act, it was meant to be small areas to protect objects, which and historic landmarks, and this is just something that I was asked to support, and I asked John. I appreciate our clerk John Whitaker putting this together and adding our language to it. I probably won't read it because of the interest of time, because it's 3 pages, but it will be available for those that want to.
It'll be on our
We
website.
can put it on our website. So, but Is there any discussion on this or?
Yes, come on up.
Come on up.
Come up. Yes.
Yes, come on. It won't be a public hearing, but it'll be,
State
you're
your
welcome
name.
to comment.
Hayden.
Thank you, Commissioners. You know who I am, but yeah, for the record, my name is
Hey,
Hayden Ballard.
Did you put this together?
Yes, I did, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just remembered that as you came up.
Yep. No, and that's kind of why I wanted to comment. I guess I'm wearing two hats as I make this comment. You know, as an attorney for the state, you know, the state really appreciates Iron County really getting involved with this issue because, as Commissioner Wood pointed out, this isn't just an Arizona issue. This affects Utah just as much or more than it does. And I grew up on the Arizona Strip. I'm from Fredonia, and so this is my backyard. And so I guess from a personal standpoint, that's why I got involved with this issue from the get-go. Because it's true, it's going to lock up pretty well the eastern half of the Arizona Strip. There's about 290,000 AUMs on the Arizona Strip, and each one of those is worth about $500. And so if they do to the Strip what they plan to do to the staircase in terms of grazing and eliminating those AUMs, the economic down, I mean, it's gonna hurt. And so, yeah, so I wrote this resolution initially for the town of Fredonia, and then I shared it with Kanab and Kane County. They adopted it, and now I'm told you guys have essentially adopted the same one. So just wanted to say thank you. And, I was thinking as I'm sitting here pondering this particular issue, you know, it makes me think about, you know, Germany in the 30s and 40s. You know, there's an old story, and I'm about to butcher it, about a man who said, you know, the SS came for the Jews, and I'm not a Jew, so I said nothing, you know, and then the SS came for the Christians, and I'm not a Christian, so I said nothing, and then the SS came for me, and there was no one to say anything for me, you know, and so, and I realized that's kind of that's a very severe example, but it's very true. You know, sure, right now they're trying to lock up Kane County and San Juan County and now the Arizona Strip. But if they can do it to them, then, you know, where are they coming next? And so, you know, we have to preserve this way of life, access to uranium and mining and grazing and logging and those things. And they're taking that from us at a clip that is absolutely scary. And I say that wearing my personal hat and as my attorney for the state of Utah hat. So, no, thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hayden.
I'll entertain a motion.
I will be thrilled to move for approval of the resolution 2023-7, a resolution of opposing the designation of the proposed Grand Canyon National Monument.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of supporting this resolution?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
It is such a
And thank you.
devastating overreach of the federal government, and we see this here and there, but as of late it is really concerning.
Yeah, we're happy to support this effort. So
I wish it had more teeth than just a resolution.
Number 9, Proclamation 2023-1, a proclamation to declare that the week of June 19th through the 24th, 2023 is Cedar City Railroad Centennial Celebration Week. I assume Councilman Phillips is going to talk about this.
Yes, thank you, Commission, for being here, for allowing me to be here. As you probably know, the week of June 19th through the 24th, we are planning a little celebration in Cedar City and Iron County for the 100th anniversary of the train.
Looks like
coming
a big
into Iron
one.
County.
Oh,
It
looks
is,
like kind of a big one.
It is a big one, and with your permission, I'm going to approach the bench and give you a copy
Yep.
of the schedule. There's something
Thank you.
happening
Thank you.
every
Thank
single
you.
day. Sir.
Thank you.
I have some that I've placed downstairs. Yes, we're asking if the county commission be willing to do a proclamation declaring that week as Centennial Celebration Week in Cedar City. One of the highlights of the week on Saturday at 5 p.m. in the Cedar City Main Street Park, we're going to do a reenactment of the speech that President Warren G. Harding gave to the citizens of Cedar City and Iron County when he returned from Zion, having been there for his day visit with his entourage of 70 people. So it still happens in the federal government. They travel in big lots. We've hired actors, and they will portray President Harding, First Lady Florence Harding, We have some Pinkerton detectives who will serve as Secret Service because the Secret Service was not in existence in 1923. And our very own Senator Evan Vickers is going to portray Governor Charles Mabee, who was the governor of Utah at the time. And we are going to be reenacting that wonderful event, plus a lot of other things happening. Celebrations, paint nights. We have a Centennial Express, a small event train, a trackless train that we have rented. It will be giving rides each and every day from 2 to 8 o'clock from along 100 West North to Coal Creek, and then make a turn and go up Main Street in the shoulder section of the road, and return and enter back through the depot, and explaining all of the things that happened in that 3-block period, showing where the tracks used to be, the water tower, the homes, etc. And that is free. Adults can ride this as well, because I sat in the car and it fit and it was comfortable. But it will be a highlight, I think. We have historical marker dedications. We're doing the original commissary building, which is now the Cedar Post Pawn Shop. That is where all the goods and services and tobaccos and meats and produce were sent and stored, and before they were sent to the various lodges. We're going to be honoring the Rainbow Decor Works building, which was the original bus garage for all the tour buses of the Utah Parks Company. And we're doing a special tribute in front of the Town and Country Sizzler area, which was the site of the Hotel Escalante. So we'll be doing 3 of those. There's just a myriad of things happening. On Thursday night in front of the depot and behind the depot, we're doing a special Sing-Away Social, is what we're calling it. Any gear jammers or cabin maids of the day will remember they used to sing away the dudes, as they called them, with special song. And we do have some veterans coming from the old Bryce Canyon and Zion days, along with the audience. And so there's just a lot of things. One thing I did want to point out is we've had the Happy Factory create for us a one-of-a-kind train. This is a 19th century locomotive style. It has engraved on both sides of it the Centennial logo for the Railroad Celebration. As Commissioner Cousin knows, they do not make trains. They make cars. They ship cars around the world. But they agreed to do this for one time only. So these are a limited edition item. We only have 400 of these available, and when they're gone, never to be made again. And the sale of these is going to help support the celebration, but also half of the proceeds go back to the Happy Factory to support what they do. We've sold about 100 of these so far, and I want to present one to the commission for you to put somewhere in the courthouse that remembers the day that we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the railroad. So that is my presentation, and hopefully we have a proclamation.
Where do we buy those?
You can go to the city offices, or they'll be at all of the events next week. We'll be available at all of the events next week. We love it, and it's got Happy Factory on the bottom of it.
Very nice.
Neat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Any questions for me?
I just want to say thank you for doing this big celebration for this. It is a milestone in our history, and we love to celebrate our history.
Yes, if we don't celebrate it and talk about it, we will surely forget it.
Yes.
Who did the engraving?
Southwest Tech did that. Didn't they do a nice job?
Oh,
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and they did that as their contribution on all of them.
That's nice.
How much are they selling them for?
$25, and half of it will go back to the Happy Factory.
That's a bargain.
It is a bargain.
Can't make that for $25.
No, and all of that work, and they had to buy the wheels especially because they are larger wheels than they traditionally put on the cars.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
That's cool.
All right. Well, do we want to? Is this something we want to vote on, or do we just?
To approve a proclamation.
This is a proclamation that's
Just
prepared, and
so-
if the commission chooses, you can vote on it. And
Well, I'd say we vote on it.
Yeah.
We need
Let's
a motion.
have a motion on it.
Okay, I would move for approval of Proclamation 2023-1. It's a proclamation to declare that the week of June 19th through the 24th, 2023 as Cedar City Railroad Centennial Celebration Week.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, as mentioned by Commissioner Blake. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Appreciate you, Scott.
Sir, will there be a copy of it available?
Let's take care of that.
Me,
Because I
sign
do want to
right
get
now.
it framed and have it available at the celebrations. While you're doing that, I'm going to.
No pressure. We got to make it legible if they're going to do that.
Sorry.
Let's see.
I don't need that kind of pressure, Joe.
I was trying to tell you were mostly done.
All right, number 10, Resolution 2023-8, a resolution of the County Legislative Body of Iron County notifying Parowan City that the county legislative body is not seeking to impose a tax under Code 59-12-70. ET, what does that stand for? John, what is that? ET.SEQ, what does that stand for?
It's sequential. It's Latin. It's and following.
All right, very good. Well,
yeah.
So we'll need a.
So
Is there any discussion on this, or?
This is like the others. Cedar City will actually be doing theirs on Wednesday, so they'll be asking us to do another one of these. This is similar to the one that we've done for Parowan a few times. Brian had. Basically, Iron County is not interested in pursuing a RAP tax, and then the local municipalities will.
Okay. All right. Need a motion?
I'd move for approval of the resolution 2023-8, a resolution of the county legislative body of Iron County notifying Parowan City that the county legislative body is not seeking to impose a tax under the code 59-12-70 and Latin.
It's sequential.
Oh, that's
yeah.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 11, discussion and possible approval of an off-highway vehicle grant contract from the Utah Outdoor Recreation, which will include trail maintenance, equipment, and GIS person, presented by Mike Worthen.
Thank you, Commissioners. Mike Worthen, Iron County Natural Resource Specialist. This contract, or it is a contract, I think you already signed it, Commissioner, but we approved it, the application of it back in March, I believe.
So this is a ratification of what we've
Yes.
already done.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now they send me, or they don't send me, they send the signer electronic copy. So because I'm not the signer, it comes to the chairman of the
commissioner,
commission, and I don't even see it until.
I believe I signed that.
Yeah, you did sign that one. And so that one's fine. The other one is the equestrian course.
As good as I can sign on my phone with my finger.
I know, which isn't easy.
Because you have to do it 10 times to get one that's at least legible.
That you can read. Anyway, the equestrian course is a joint effort with a BLM to create an equestrian course out at Three Peaks for training and a challenge for competition.
It's like a world class. The guy
Yes.
that designed it is like, it's a big deal.
He's the guru.
It's not just a trail. It's like a big deal.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. That you also received a copy of that. I don't think you've signed that one yet. So that
They'll be able to bring competitions from all over
Yes.
to that course.
Yep.
So,
All right.
So that's the
So
second
do
one.
We just need a motion to ratify what we've done then.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
We've already said.
we've got two different motions though, probably, don't we need to?
So those are two separate items. You probably just want to
Just do them.
Do each one?
just do them separately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move for approval of the off-highway vehicle grant contract from the Utah Outdoor Recreation, which will include trail maintenance equipment and GIS person.
Just to be clear, that's a ratification of
Yes.
actions already taken, yeah.
Okay.
To ratify that approval.
Okay. Second?
It's been seconded to ratify this action. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks. 12,
Okay.
12, discussion and possible approval of a grant with the BLM on the horse challenge course. We've talked about that, so just need a motion.
I will move for approval on the grant with the BLM on the horse challenge course at Three Peaks.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
And Commissioner, if
Yes.
you want to sign that horse challenge one. I don't think maybe you have. I haven't received a copy
Yeah, I don't.
saying that it has.
I thought just the one had been signed. Is that it?
I don't know.
Is this it, John? This is a OHV. This is one I've already signed.
Yeah. The
Here.
OHV you already signed.
That win with it?
I don't see.
Okay, let me look back.
Unless it's
'cause
on
I-
my phone and I did sign it, and I could.
And they may not have because there are two different offices.
That one's been signed.
Rachel Toker is very good to notify me when something's done. The other office isn't quite as up to speed when they do something. So I'll make sure that that you get a copy, and then you can sign it and send it to them.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Number 13, bid opening and possible approval of a contract for civil engineering services for the new sheriff's complex.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's your good.
So there's only two.
There's only two.
Are you gonna handle this, John? Review it, or?
I can.
I haven't looked at this.
This is the first I've looked at it. The due date was Friday, and I was off Friday, so we're all looking at this for the first time right now. This is in association with construction of the new sheriff's complex. We had done some piecemeal work to kind of get things rolling, but this will be the lion's share of the civil work that happens as the jail is built. We put it out, the RFP. We sent it directly to probably 13 or 14 outfits, and we heard back from 2. We also put it in the newspaper and the public notice website. And I will admit, I'm going to defer to your wisdom on this.
Okay.
As far as
So one question on this,
Yeah.
John. How soon did Babcock say they needed this done? Could it wait? Could this wait? Even though, and we've closed.
There was
Yes.
some things that they
Is there-
needed done immediately.
I just wonder
wasn't
if this could wait till our next meeting so we can review it
Yeah.
and really
digest
digest
it. Yeah.
I don't know if it'd do
So-
it justice to
If
do
we
it on the
haven't
fly
seen it
unless they
since now.
and we could even do a special maybe meeting if we have to approve it
through
if
it.
they need it. Yeah, but I
So-
think we ought to review because this is the first we've seen it. So.
Yeah, no, right. And I don't think it's going to be that urgent. The only reason is that
I know for the
the
sewer,
geotech-
the sewer.
Yeah, so Watson was doing piecemeal for us, and they actually located that sewer, and we've gotten that to Layton and to Babcock. The other outstanding thing, which again we were kind of doing some of this piecemeal, trying to move on our turnover shovel date of December 1st, was the soils analysis. And they've done boreholes, and then they're going to do the sound wave test probably in the next week or so. But we've kind of hired them
already-
piecemeal, not as part of the larger contract, but to kind of keep things rolling. So to your point, I think we could probably put it off for another meeting.
Okay.
I know that Layton.
Good to go through.
Let's do
this a
that.
little
Let's do that
better.
and review it, and,
Okay.
and then we can come back.
One of the challenges, even when talking with these folks that applied, was how to break down their costs because
That's
the
the
scope
problem.
of the
I
work
look
is a
at-
little unknown.
I look at the scope and it differs a little bit.
And then so I said, well, make sure you give us your rate. And then the one outfit, they gave us a breakdown of what they estimated the project would cost. But the scope is actually the challenge because it's hard to know, from their perspective, it's hard to know what the scope's going to be on an RFP. So that's why I said, well, really let's focus in on the rates of your, principal engineer, your surveyors, your draftsmen, those kind of positions. And so this is the first time I've done one of these, so I hope I got the key information enough for us to make the decision.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but I think that's wise, and I think we've got enough of the preliminary work done that they're gonna that Layton and Babcock will be able to move forward if we put it off for. And if it looks like we need to have a special meeting, I'm happy to accommodate that.
Well, I'd entertain a motion to table this until we can review it in depth and put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, I would agree. I would move to table item number 13, the approval for the contract for civil engineering services for the new sheriff's complex until we can have more time to review.
Yeah, I'd second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, county boards, we took care of the 2 names. With Reed, is there any others that you can think of?
I think that was it.
I wondered, and I'll approach him separately, but I wondered if Jared would be willing to serve on our Iron County Special Service District number 3. That was also the same position that what's his name?
Craig Lobb.
Craig Lobb served on. Thank you.
Yeah.
I say we vote on it and pending his acceptance.
Oh.
Maybe just approve it if he was willing to do it. Could we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And he could tell us no. So
Right.
I'm used to people telling me no.
So moved.
Not. Okay.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
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 No, I'm sorry. Tell me his name one more time.
Well, he
Jared
just got.
Christensen.
Or was it Tullis?
Oh,
I thought
no,
it was Jared. I thought it
Michelle.
was
you
Jared.
said-
I thought
It
you
was
said
Jared Tullis.
Jared Tullis. Okay.
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Jared Christensen is in the
Christensen.
West Desert. He's
And
replacing Law.
Michelle Tullis was the 2.
And
that we,
and
it's
the
Jared
motion was to
Christensen.
appoint Jared.
Jared.
Okay.
As
We're looking for somebody in the West Desert, right?
Correct.
So that would be
Yeah.
Jared.
Okay.
if he would serve on that also, that would be.
So Jared Christensen.
But you'll have to reach out to
If
him.
peer pressure helps, you could tell him he was railroaded in a commission.
we could, if he doesn't want to do it, we'll find somebody else. But
Okay. And that's a once-a-year commitment. And I have yet to have any torches or pitchforks in that meeting. It's usually pretty quiet. So
okay. That's-
selling, but maybe I'll
It's way
bring
different
treats or
than
something.
planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Missionary wages then.
Yeah, that's it.
Free.
Okay, well, we'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.